Here's a truth bomb for you. Nice guys aren't being nice. In fact, they're being manipulative. They're using approval seeking and people pleasing as a way to control how women and others see them, all because they're afraid to be rejected for who they really are. And when it comes to women and men, something I've come to realize is that insecurity that drives us to seek the approval from women is a subtle, sometimes invisible, but it's there. This craving for validation, for someone to tell you that you're enough. But no matter how things or how many times she approves of you, you're going to just continue to chase that. You're never going to fill in the gaps because it's just a hollow pursuit. Real maturity, real growth happens when you let go of that need, when we realize that our worth isn't something that can be handed to us by someone else, but it's really about what's on the inside, what's waiting to be claimed. And the moment a man stops seeking approval or validation from a woman is the moment in which he becomes a mature, integrated man. Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm your host, Chuck Chapman, and I'm joined with my co-hosts Faisal and Ari. And today we're going to talk about the idea of maturity and what is a mature man. And my opinion is that the nice guy syndrome is active immaturity. So nice guys are often afraid of women because we've been conditioned to do that. We've talked about that on many episodes about how oftentimes we're conditioned to take care of our mothers and meet her needs. And then we grow up and then we start meeting the needs of another woman. But deep down inside, it's all back attached to the fear of being abandoned, rejected, and left alone from the woman. And as a result of that, we tend to be agreeable. We're constantly putting others' needs before our own. And until you start to learn to love and respect yourself, you're really going to be always giving away your power. And I think that maturity is actually the act of reclaiming and taking your own power. So we're going to talk about maturity today. And my first question is for you guys is like on a scale of 1 to 10, how mature are you and why? Ari, let's start with you.
Of course, you start with me.
Of course.
The least mature. Give myself a 7.
7?
Does that seem low or high?
That's pretty high.
Lower it? Okay.
Yeah. I would have said at least lower, much lower than that. You don't seem...
I don't seem really mature. Are we...
So we should, actually, we should rate each other. How mature we are.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, man.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, Chuck. All right. So you rate Ari and then myself and then Ari and then
is this only based on how much we seek validation from women, or is this just a global
No, judgment? I think this is so the statement is that if you're a nice guy, then it's an act of immaturity. So I guess you could say, how much of a nice guy are you if you wanted to reverse the scale?
So this is you. This is you. He's gonna swing the sacred dick.
I'm gonna swing the sacred dick. All right.
Okay. Ari, hit me hard. Yeah.
2.
2. That much?
Yeah, I know. Faisal 1.
Oh, that's about right.
See how mature we're being right here. No, I think you guys are. There's a difference between being mature and having fun. I mean, just because you're mature doesn't mean you don't have fun. But no, I think both of you guys are, you're up there. I'd probably give both of you about a 7, maybe an 8.
Whoa. Don't know me very well, do you?
No.
Ari, go on. Your turn to rate Chuck and myself. Rate our maturity. It's like rate your hotness, but maturity here.
I think you guys are more mature than a lot of people I know, to be honest. Like, who does all this self-development work but a mature man?
Immature guys who want to become mature. That's who does it.
No, seriously. Like I don't. Like if you're measuring it just by dick jokes, then we're all maybe kind of average. Not average dicks, but average in terms of amount of dick jokes. I think we're typical. But think about how intentional we are, how much we work on ourselves, how much we care about our parenting, we care about our health. We're living in our purpose. Like, that sounds goddamn mature to me.
How about when it comes to seeking approval from the feminine?
I mean, I'm not a.
Nah, true.
So I would say it's still there, but not all gone. And I think I was listening to Sean T. Smith's book, and it was a guide for women on what men are. And I was just thinking, okay, so what's he written here? And he said, as men, we just live to, be your heroes. We want that. There's a lot of innate things that he was talking about, and seeking approval. Why men tend to seek a lot of feminine approval is because they want to make sure that it validates what they're doing. They're doing it right. Fear of failure. I would say now, being more mature, I have reduced that. I would say maybe 30 to 40% or 30%. I would say 30% of the times I would seek mature approval. On a bad day, maybe a lot more.
Who are you going to approval for? Which chicks are you going to?
Anyone that'll take it. Anyone that'll give you approval. That way, it'll be approval from your partner, maybe your friends, family, or even just people. Just everybody.
So, Faisal, I don't think you've rated us.
Okay, I would. You two seem very mature, like well-spoken, good little boys, raised well, and you don't pick your nose or do anything silly out of the ordinary.
Oh my God, I'm a horrible nose picker.
Right. Apart from Ari, who doesn't make his bed, but that's about it. But yeah, you seem. I think mature. I noticed one thing about a lot of nice guys is we haven't been matured. And I still remember this. My teacher said to me, she said, "You're very immature." Okay, I was in school, but she said, "You're very immature compared to the other kids." And I can now look back and see, yeah, there was a lot of immaturity, but also immaturity in understanding things, like having an understanding about the world, comprehending it. I wasn't always really good at understanding social situations or emotional situations or what's going on in the world, or maybe some jokes. I really lacked that point there. So I didn't really have a grasp of things, whereas some of the other guys would understand the situation or read the situation really well. Whereas I'm like, what does that mean? I don't fully understand it. So there was some, I would say, cognitive development that I didn't fully have until I started to do a lot of personal development, understanding psychology, human behavior, which gave me a lot more, I would say, introspection and also moving more towards maturity.
See, I have a little beef with your title, like "Grow the Fuck Up" is the title of this podcast. As if it's just something that men can just will themselves to do. Like, I think we actually have to be taught a lot of this stuff or coached in it.
I agree. Yeah.
And so, grow the fuck up is sort of like, it's a very, I don't even know if it's tough love.
It's shaming.
It's shaming.
Yeah, I felt a lot of shame.
That's what it takes.
I was about to have a tantrum.
Yeah, so like on the one hand, like I think nice guys need a kick in the butt to get moving, but they also need a lot of guidance and compassion in order to actually make progress. I don't think heaping on extra shame is the answer. I think that will make them hide more. I don't know if that was actually your intention with the title, but that I just had a reaction to the title.
I agree. And here's something I've learned in the last few years about myself. I was prolific on social media, especially on Facebook, like putting these provocative thoughts and, driving everybody insane. I don't know if you remember seeing some of the posts as well. So I used to have a lot of comments, and people used to say, when I look at Faisal's Facebook, I normally bring a pack of popcorn with me to sit down because there was a lot of controversial stuff on there. And to me, I would have seen myself now looking back as very immature because I'm instigating reactions, comments, and it was really pointless. It's like, what's the direction? What's the purpose? Where is it going to? Rather than, it was more like cheap fuel for entertainment. Yeah. And that, to me, I had really shameful comments on there, really damning comments on there, very polarizing comments on there, very black and white thinking as well.
Like
And there
what?
wasn't enough, like, you're an idiot if you do this, or you need to grow some fucking balls, you twat. It wasn't fully understanding, actually, even like shaming fat people or a certain type of people, because what it was it just showed that I didn't fully understand the fact that if somebody is overweight, or if somebody is acting in a certain way, it's not fully grasping and understand that actually what's behind the scenes of that. So I had a real immature, non-compassionate, non-understanding view. And I can still have that sometimes, but like view of like, actually, what's really going on? Because if somebody is really overweight, it's not something that they're choosing. It's because something in their world is happening. Like there's something in my world that is happening that I wish I had more control over, but I don't. And there's forces against me that I'm fighting every single day. And I'm sure there's forces against that person who's overweight, or maybe addicted to porn or alcohol or anything in there, or drama or something like that. There's some kind of forces that are driving that. So maybe they're not always in control. So what I decided to do is like get away from shaming. And I remember I think Chuck, you called me out as like, Faisal, that's really shaming. I was like, actually, you're right. So I really had to take a introspection of myself and really mature up. And what I'm recently doing now is I've got this mantra I read, and what I'm focusing towards is father energy. Because what I see father energy is this like older, wiser man who has a lot of introspection, compassion, but also strong boundaries and this warmth, but yet solid strength that this father has, who is here to heal the world, protect the world, also not to take any shit from the world as well, but in a very, I would say, mature, wise, wisdom way. So
Yeah, well, I think you guys missed the irony of the title. Which
damn it! After all that speech, we missed it all.
but I agree with you that we don't want to be shaming, and there is a time for the sacred dick to come out. Like there's that time for of like, okay, you've been spinning your wheels. We all work with nice guys. We're in Integration Nation, all that, and you just kind of see the same behavior happen over and over and over again. I think that the coddling and the ball cupping of trying to lead a nice guy sometimes needs to have the big stick, and that if you're consistently coming from that sort of feminine nurturing place, that's not leading. And I think that that's one of the things that nice guys tend to lack. We feel comfortable when someone's nurturing us, but comfort isn't necessarily the place of growth.
I
agree. But we're
agree.
kind of getting off into the weeds here a little bit. So I just want to kind of pull it back into the idea of nice guy behavior is essentially immature boy energy, because we're seeking approval. We're actually not being nice. We're being manipulative. We're giving to get. You're not actually loving somebody when we say I love you, and we're waiting for the response back. That's just a form of a covert contract and validation. That when you can actually show up in your relationship and she doesn't have the power to validate you or invalidate you, it's nice if she does, right? But if she validates you, that's great. But if she invalidates you, I'm not giving her that power. What I want to be able to do in my relationship.
Is that when you like stop? I guess some guys would sulk if they didn't get that, or they'll have a tantrum, or start pulling away, or what are they doing when so when they're not getting that validation,
they collapse.
That's it.
Okay. And so when you collapse, that's what I would say sort of the sign of immaturity is the mature man's able to stand strong, has deep roots, and just is like,
yeah,
I like this. So it doesn't matter if you don't like that. I'm still going to continue to do this.
Especially, Yeah, it's like I really like what you just said there because it's that collapse. It's like, for example, I see a lot of guys when, hey, I'm especially married ones, like I made a move on her. I wanted to, I want sex. I've had it for a long time. I tried to make this move on her, and she rejected me, and then he just collapses. He takes it
Mm-hmm.
personally, gets butthurt, starts to sulk, and then starts
Yeah,
to.
right.
I think men have to be taught how to validate themselves. For some reason, that was a foreign concept to me until just a few years ago. There's actual skills involved in validating yourself that you can't just ask someone to do without some training. But I do like this idea of like pointing out that this is boy energy or boy behavior. And, there's an alternative, which is acting like a man. And this is how.
Well, I've often said this before about the book No More Mr. Nice Guy is, if I had one criticism, it's that he talks a lot about nice guys and what nice guys do. And I think when, what we focus on is what we're going to get. So if you're focusing on, I'm a nice guy behavior, that's not my fault, I'm a nice guy. Then you start taking that victim role as opposed to like, the list that takes up like one page, which is these are the things of an integrated man. And it's really about, this is what mature men do. And I think that boys or nice guys need integrated mature men to show them what it is. This is how mature men behave, and that we do that.
100%.
So,
Yeah, and being around you guys, being around men's work like Dr. Glover and the guys, it really gave me reference points of what maturity looks like, or dealing with it in a more mature way. I remember my men's coach. He said to me, Faisal, you're stuck in adolescence. You're still a boy. You still have very immature responses or reactions to situations. Something's difficult. You're like, oh, it's really difficult. And it's like, you're not dealing with like a mature guy champion. Like, okay, cool. I have this situation. I need to deal with it. And like you said, I collapsed. And then I started having criticizing, complaining, moaning, bitching about it. My inner wuss came out. And that's what it is.
yeah. The thing is, like, you just reminded me of this, Faisal. When I was in rehab, and I had a counselor there, and he was pointing out to me a similar kind of thing. That the reason I was where I was at was because I was acting not as a man, as a boy. And he said something to me that had great impact. And he said, Chuck, it's time for you to grow the fuck up, And I feel like that was a moment for me it was so impactful because nobody had really told me that before. Nobody had really challenged me to do that before. And I didn't feel shamed. I felt a sense of, you're right. It's time for me to take care of myself. There's a sign, a saying, a mantra in sort of wilderness training. And it's expect to self-rescue. No one is coming. Mm-hmm. And I think that we as men, we expect someone's coming. And so we just sort of wait there, right? I think what we do when we actually grow up is we realize no one is coming. It is 100% up to you how your life is going to be. No one is coming. Expect a self-rescue.
I love that. I really love that. That's such a key point to becoming a mature, self-regulated person rather than being... because as a child, you're very dependent on everybody else to do the stuff for you. It's like, mom rescues me, dad rescues me. That's what I'm used to. So I'm struggling with relationships. I'm struggling with work, or I'm so that somebody else, come on, help me, rescue me, make it all better for me. Mm-hmm. Whereas no one's coming to save you.
No one's coming. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that concludes this episode of Grow the Fuck Up, And
no.
Nice guys. If you're a nice guy, it's really kind of a sign of your own immaturity. And to the point, I also say that part of growing up is seeking out those coaches, those therapists, those leaders, those mentors. No one's coming. You got to go find that on your own. And if you like this episode, be sure to check out episode number 1, which is, what is the nice guy syndrome? This was way, way back 16 months ago when it was Faisal and I started this podcast. It's an oldie but a goodie. You can see how far we've come in our own maturity as a podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Really helps the algorithm. And go to theniceguysshow.com to get on our mailing list. And with that, we'll see you guys next time on The Nice Guy Show.
Should we do something immature?
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Kokar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes and visit us on www.theniceguysshow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguysshow.com. Thanks for listening.